What's up, Panther fans? This is the C3 podcast. It must be Tuesday night at 10 o'clock where Panther fans come together and talk Carolina Panther football from a fan perspective. We got a great show tonight, kind of upbeat for 2 weeks in a row. We're on a winning streak. We've been so solemn every Tuesday night. It's been like therapy, a weekly therapy for the season, and now we're popping bottles now. So we're excited to be here. We've got a special guest tonight, Chris Jenkins from CharlotteVibe.com. You can catch, they do great work over there. Joey, are you glad to be back? Panther fan coming after Tampa Bay win. Say hello to everybody.
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the freaking Puerto Rican, a.k.a. Joe Rilano. I am happy. It's a good week. Anytime the Panthers win, it starts the week off the right way. Things just tend to go better when that happens.
Man, it's good. You're right. It's an upbeat feeling. Mel Mayock, glad to have you back on the show. Say hello.
Right on. What's up, Panther Nation? Happy to be here tonight. And I got to correct Joe. You say every time the Panthers win, the week goes better. Well, a week ago, man, we thought we were going to have a great week, and then our franchise QB gets in a terrible car accident, and everything changed. But this week, we won. Things are looking good so far. Glad to have the vibe on the show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, so let's get to it.
All right. Now, we'll introduce our guest tonight, Chris Jenkins. Say hello to everybody and tell us where they can find you at.
Hey, I just want to say I'm just in awe right now of all this technology that we have going on. So excuse me if I stumbled a little bit at the beginning, but yeah, I'm Chris Jenkins with Charlotte Vibe. Thank you guys for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Everything's at Charlotte Vibe. Anything social media wise, that's how you can find me.
Can you let's talk about Charlotte Vibe for a minute. It's really a neat project that we follow, and it really kind of, for somebody outside of Charlotte, I live in eastern North Carolina, and it really helps me get a kind of window into Charlotte life for me personally, because I'm interested in this so much. So could you tell us a little bit about Charlotte Vibe and your audience, and how did you get into this?
Man, I'll try to make the long story very short. You know, I have to either go really long or really short. But essentially, I was this nerdy guy back in my college days, and when the web came out, I said, hey, I could create a tool where I can link us people who want to be social all together online. So that's how it came about, honestly, back in 1998 under a different name when it first came out. So. Yeah, a long time.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, that is, and man, what kind of vision that was.
Really?
In 1999, good Lord, we were still watching almost Die Hard back then. It is almost Christmas time, but yeah, they still had. That was when it was cool to have big phones for the first time, right? Or was that the small phone area?
Hey, that was still when.
All right.
That was still when the 56K modem was like awesome.
Wow.
Oh, I know. And guess what's coming? I just found out. This is good news for the show, and we have a lot of guests joining us tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Congratulations, by the way, to the Not So Lazy Susans for advancing to the final round of the C3 Fantasy Football Challenge. 48 teams, and she is she's down to one, heads up after 48 teams. What an accomplishment. She's here tonight. We'll say hello to her. Now, I want to jump in, and we got to ask you this. Chris, what's going on with Cam? He practiced today, right?
Today was an off day. So
okay.
We don't know what he did today. Usually on his off days, he goes in. He'll do some extra training. He might throw. Actually, I don't know if he throws. He doesn't go out to the field. So we won't find out until tomorrow when I'll stake out at the practice field what all he's able to do. He should try to throw tomorrow during practice, which will probably be around noontime.
Okay, so tomorrow, is that the first footballs that he's thrown since he flipped his truck 4 times? I've never been so sad for somebody in a car accident that I've never met in my life. Like I was in a meeting at work and I almost fell out of my chair. So is this the first time he's going to be throwing the football at all tomorrow?
If he throws, tomorrow would definitely be the first time this week since the accident.
All right, tell us this. Will he play?
I'd say it's a pretty good chance he'll play, but unfortunately, it's just going to be a bunch of guessing that you'll hear from anybody, because Coach Rivera all week is going to give us the same thing that he does all year about Cam being tough, and we'll wait and see. And I think officially, nobody will really know until the end of the week, probably Saturday, if then.
All right, now let me ask a question. Should he play?
Wow, that's a good question there. Should he play? I don't think he should play, because I think if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to need Cam as strong as he can be. You know, it's not a guarantee that they're going to get there, but Derek's certainly a capable guy. So I say he should not play from that standpoint of, if we make it, you know, all the offense is going to come from Cam. He'll need to be as strong as he can be.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I think Cam is the key to us having success if we do make the postseason. And if he's not 100% healthy.
Hey, plus I gotta say, I want to see Derek Anderson take on his old team. You know?
Oh yeah, that would be cool too. That would be cool too. Yeah.
I don't want to see Derek Anderson anymore. All right. Sorry, that's how I feel. And here's the thing. Okay, now I'm going to throw the challenge flag on that call though, and ask this: is that if we need him in the playoffs, can we get there realistically without Cam Newton? I know we say that, you know, Derek Anderson is a capable guy, but you know the Cleveland Browns haven't been a terrible team this season. Good defense, generally good pass rush against a team where we have not been particularly good against the pass rush. Is there really a chance of the Carolina Panthers making it, or is this kind of like we should almost expect that, you know, maybe we're just going to kind of, I won't say hang Cam Newton out for the season, like, or set him to the side, but maybe not let him all the way out the gate. Is there a real chance, Chris, that we can backdoor into the playoffs, particularly after the win last night in Chicago?
Yeah, I agree. After the win last night, the chances go down a lot. With I think New Orleans plays Atlanta this weekend.
That's true. That's right.
In Atlanta, so it's not the slimmest of chances, but I'd say a lot of the momentum has been lost by New Orleans winning last night and winning pretty darn good.
What a strange season to have to be an Atlanta Falcons fan this coming up weekend.
I know, really.
Yeah.
I think it would be strange being an Atlanta Falcons every day a fan every day of your life. That's what I say.
But hey, Coach, let me give you my 2 cents. You ask if it's possible. You know, and that basically boils down to, is it possible for us to beat Cleveland this weekend? And I got 2 words for you: Johnny Football.
Did you see what I named the title of this week's podcast and the piece I'm working on? And the name of this video right here is Money Manziel Meets Big Money.
I love it.
We're gonna see that on Sunday, where Big Money gets to meet some. I mean, he makes his paycheck going after people like Little Johnny. So that is going to be a collision of polar opposites. I want to get back to the Carolina Panthers and ask Chris some more questions. With Charlotte Vibe, you work so intimately with Panther players. It's pretty awesome. Why do you think? I feel like they tend to open up pretty well to you. And when you get I do. When I watch the interviews, because I watch all of it. I listen to the press con. We're nerd fans, and that's the people that listen to the show are nerd fans. That we put it on Twitter. We're at work. We put the Twitter feed up on the extra monitor at work. We listen to 610 The Fan all day long, and we watch. We do all this all day. And I feel that you tend to have a generally good relationship with the players. Why do you think that is? Is it your demeanor? I think it's kind of your demeanor.
I'm laughing so hard because I don't know who all's watching and what I want to say, but yeah, I try to take a different approach when I'm in the locker room with those guys, by far. I try not to ask them the obvious questions. about things that would piss him off. You know, are you going to win? Why didn't you win? And I think that kind of helps when I do go to get those guys one-on-one, that they can see I'm not really there to try to throw them under the bus or say, hey, I'm just kind of asking, but, you know, blah, 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 and try to set them up. So I think that helps a lot. That I definitely have a different demeanor than most guys in that locker room.
I think, but you don't let them off the hook, though. And that's what I mean. You ask some tough questions. I believe I was listening to one press conference, and did you get to ask Ron Rivera, was he going to name Jonathan Stewart the starter? This was probably 2 weeks ago. Was that you? Because I was listening. I try to make out the voices when I listen to the press conferences.
Yeah, I asked him about that, and basically, I stopped because you could tell that to me, he had this response of like, I'm the coach. I don't care if you want to know why. He's not going to start. So to me, that was the end of the questions. That's what I got from his response.
Oh, we went crazy on the C3 podcast over his response to that question, and we have some theories that we've bounced around. But what I was trying to get to is that it seems like, hey, that you have a way of getting with the players, talking with them, not just giving them softball questions, but they don't seem like, I don't feel like they think you have an agenda behind you, and it feels genuine. And I think that's kind of why they tend to be more open with. It's really cool. So I give everybody, please check out Charlotte Vibe. I want to get to another question to ask you. This is so much, and this is crazy. This is going to be, you're probably not going to like this question. So much of the Steve Smith divorce narrative has been framed to the kind of idea of changing leadership in the locker room. That's what we were told. You know, we're part ways with Steve Smith to open the door for younger guys to emerge and take over. Have you seen this changing of the guard? And is there anybody that we don't get to see? You know, we can say Cam Newton, we can say Luke Kuechly, right, as the leaders of this team. But are there any guys that we don't get to see that have kind of stepped into a larger role?
Well, in terms of the atmosphere in that locker room, one thing I will say before I get into it is that though we get to be in that locker room quite a bit, we're never in that locker room during a game situation, which is when that leadership could really be prevalent in there. Mm-hmm. You know, we just kind of, when we get in there, the guys have just gotten out of practice and everything's loose, and really the guys are in their groups. The receivers are with the receivers, the linemen are with the linemen. So with that, I still would say this: Steve Smith was definitely a strong presence in that locker room, even, you know, with saying what I just said. So it's changed where you don't feel any one strong presence coming from that locker room, and it's just kind of even all out. I wouldn't say it's a lot livelier or a lot duller or anything, but it is a definite difference.
Are there any guys though on that team that maybe that you don't get to see in your job, but maybe when you're watching the game just as a spectator or something, do you think that there's any guys that kind of stand out? We can say Thomas Davis, we can say Luke Kuechly. Are there any guys else that people tend to kind of rally around on this team? Or, is it the story of Byron Bell not picking up Cam Newton off the ground?
The team is really led by the captains: Greg Olsen, Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton. Even though I might get in trouble for this, but here's some Charlotte Vibe Chris Jenkins personal insight. I really think of all the captains that Cam Newton is the only guy that really leads because of his position, not so much because of him being a leader. I don't see that from him on the field too often, and I don't really see it in the locker room. But I say all the other captains, they are really leaders by naturally being a leader, regardless that I'm at this position.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that has anything to do with tenure? Those guys, you talk about Olsen, you talk about Davis. Kuechly, I guess you can't have that argument, but he seems like the type A personality to me anyway. But like Davis and Olsen, those guys, having been there so long, you could see them sort of taking over that role as leaders for the amount of time they've been in Charlotte. Whereas Cam, still being relatively new, I mean, I guess he's not so new, but relatively speaking, you think as he gains experience, he'll acquiesce into that role? Not so much based on position, but just, or is that not really in his personality?
Yeah, we all have different personalities, and I think that Cam Newton's true self is that I know I'm in this leadership position, so I'm going to lead more by, I'm going to get us that first down, I'm going to throw us that deep ball pass, and I'm not going to be so much of a vocal leader type of thing. I just think that's the way he is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you think he's getting more comfortable with the role at all?
Well, because he's not a vocal leader, it's harder to say. One thing I definitely noticed about Cam this year, though, is that the way that he deals with the media is a lot different. It's still not where I would like it to be, but that's just me personally. But he's definitely, as far as the way
Well, of course, we all want to be at Cam's Christmas party.
With the kids.
Hell yeah, I'll go.
But
what? Tell us how that's changed. How has it changed from last year to this year specifically, and what would you want it to be more?
Well, he's changed by he's definitely speaking for the team. He's definitely saying the right things that he's supposed to say in press conferences. Taking accountability for things, not letting reporters put him in this hole of getting a headline out of something that Cam has said. Other than his dress, he's not said anything that's put him in a headline.
That was awful, by the way. We got to go ahead and clear the air on that. We also featured that on the C3 podcast a while back. That was just terrible.
It was.
You want to know something?
Yeah.
He was
capris on now?
He was dressed horribly Sunday after the game, but nobody saw it because he didn't go to the podium.
Oh, nice. I wonder what that is. I wonder who's in his ear. So do you think, here, last question on Cam, we'll get away from him because he always dominates. Do you think that he's nervous and that he doesn't want to make a mistake? So he's overly cautious at times with himself, or maybe overly guarded?
I think that at times he's gotten a little antsy because of how many times he's been hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that definitely happens to him because you'll see I think he's a really rhythm quarterback, especially at this stage in his career. So if things are going well, you just see it build. He gets better. He has a good game. But when he's dealing with adversity and he starts getting hit, then I think that you do start to see him kind of panic and go to do things unconventionally because of that.
But I guess what I mean is, do you think that that's why he's so kind of cautious in the leadership role, maybe and vocally? Like while he tries to do it, you can tell he's like going through the motions and he's, coming out there and giving you the right answers. That 1 + 1 is always equal to 2, but I didn't die, so that's not math anymore. And all of these things is that I feel like sometimes he's just so worried what people are going to think. Except for when he dresses, obviously.
His attire doesn't concern him at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, who knows? You guys jump in there. Let's talk about the Panthers.
I was going to say one thing, Chris. I have been, and what you said there is what I really believe is the secret to Cam's success, is getting him in that rhythm. I'm of the opinion Cam seems to settle into games better when you start him running the ball. When he has success in the ground game, he gets his juices going, he gets comfortable, he starts to throw the ball better. I think his accuracy goes up versus coming in and just firing right away. That's what I've noticed. And by you saying that about him, I think that just reinforced that. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it all comes from that first down point that everybody either loves or hates that he does. When he gets something going, he gets on point.
Did you think it was cool that Eric Anderson did that after he ran?
Yeah, when he did it, I knew that it was already planned because it was one of those. Oh yeah, let me go back and do this point thing. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty
I
cool.
thought that's the coolest thing I think Derek Anderson's ever done.
And Cam loved it. Cam loved it. I knew that.
He did. How this is we got to talk about this too. Maybe Chris knows something about this. Will Frank Alexander he play this week? He's going to be activated. He's coming back, and we always have to token talk about Frank Alexander on this show. We at least mention his name every week almost on purpose because among Carolina Panther fans, Frank Alexander is supposedly this defensive end savior that if he would just play at some point, we would be so much better. And it's not true, but I'm one of those people that disagrees wholeheartedly with it, but is Frank Alexander, are we going to see him at all in the last 2 weeks on the field?
I would be pretty surprised.
Okay.
I don't care who you are and what kind of shape of training you've been doing to come in at the last 2 weeks of the season and play any role that we could say, oh, we missed Frank.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty tall challenge.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 3 years, too. Was this his second year? He's had 2 years, but prior to that, he was not in those games either. He only had 3 sacks for his career, I think. But still, what do you think? Can you tell us really what he got in trouble for? Does anybody – all they say is this, is they say that he – performance-enhancing drugs. Was it – how about this? Leaning towards real performance-enhancing drugs or like I took something at the GNC?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that one.
All right, that's a safe.
That's a safe
answer.
Tomorrow.
Exactly.
Safe answer. We're all just curious. We're all curious. Aaron, do you got anything you want to ask Chris? I know he's been very gracious with his time tonight.
Well, yeah, I do. I'm real excited to have Chris on. I've been trying to get you on this show for a while because, I really do like what you do. I encourage everybody to go out there and check out charlottevibe.com because it's more than just Panthers, right, Chris? I mean, take a minute and plug what else you do. I even see a little comedy routine going on out there, a little comedy show going on.
Well, first, thanks for your patience in getting me on, you guys. It's kind of the worst part of the season here because I do a bunch of things, as you can imagine, and come the holidays, I get tied up with so many other things, so that's why December has been so hard. But I kind of use my media to access all things, so I cover the Panthers, I cover the Hornets, and I actually cover other entertainment things in Charlotte. So, yes, sometimes there may be a comedian coming to the Comedy Zone, and I have to change hats and go and interview the comedian. So
Yeah.
I get to do it all, try to keep people informed.
But see,
I just like to be a gateway.
Yeah. I'm a native Charlottean, but I live out on the West Coast now. I'm out in Las Vegas. So I follow your website so I can see what's going on around town. I think it's cool. Anybody that's a Charlotte fan in general out there, you need to check out his website. And we're talking. We're going to get you up as a channel on our website. For our YouTube page. So, folks will be able to see you there. Where can folks find you on YouTube now?
I got different channels. I got one for Panthers and one for Hornets and then one just for general. But if you just search for Charlotte Vibe on YouTube, it should link you to all the different channels that we have. YouTube.com/Charlotte Vibe, and you should be able to see all the different channels that we have. And guys, I know I said I only had about 20 minutes, but I'll give you a heads up before I have to go. I think we're good right now.
Okay, all right.
Great.
Well then, all right, awesome. Well, let's jump into another thing. I want to do, actually, before I forget this, before I forget it, because this is the most important part of the show. When you next time see Ben Wickere, you tell him that we got a nickname for him and we want him to adopt it. And he gave us the thumbs up. He even retweeted us a while back.
Yep.
Sticky Wicky.
Sticky Wicky?
Sticky Wicky is our nickname for Ben Wickere. It comes from a guy named Kevin Avery on Facebook who is like the biggest. He could get more conversation going. If anybody hired him in the Panthers PR office, the website would explode. Everybody
it would crash. It would crash.
They love him. And Sticky Wicky is the one we came up with, so we like that a lot. And Philly Brown probably won't like my nickname for him, which is Philly Falling Down Brown. But
Philly Falling Down Brown.
Tony, I got to give a quick shout out to my man Philly Brown. Today is his birthday. So
nice.
Happy birthday.
Oh, right on. Happy birthday to Philly Brown.
And then tomorrow. Oh, it is today.
Yeah.
I gotta shoot him a text.
Good job.
What's that, Chris?
Yeah, don't tell him that.
I need to shoot him a text right now. He's probably out partying though.
Probably.
He better be working on his punt returning. That's what he should be working on. Sorry.
Well, you know,
that's what we call it. We're kind of hard on. I'm hard on. I get hard on a couple of players. And I like them as a receiver, but.
I'm a Brown fan.
I still have an interview, a one-on-one to come with Philly. We were supposed to do.
I got one question for you, Chris. The first time I started following you, man, I don't know if you remember this, right? But we were going back and forth on Twitter because apparently you're pretty fast yourself, right? And you kept challenging Ted Ginn last year to a foot race.
Bullshit.
And it was going to be Vibe versus Ginn, and you put it out to all your followers, come up with a name for this initiative.
Right.
And I won your little contest there. It was Vibe versus Ginn 2013 or something like that, right? But you never did get to race him. But I've thrown it out there. Are you going to try to race anybody else on the Panthers?
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that. I even got some other players to give me their opinion on who they thought would win or not with me and Ted racing. But when the season was over, Ted went home and then got picked up by the Cardinals and hadn't been able to race him. So me and Philly Brown are supposed to race, but we got something creative lined up in mind because I think we're going to do it before the end of the season. So
yeah. So how fast are you, man?
I used to be pretty darn fast. You know, I'm getting older now. Just turned 39 the other day.
Yeah.
So I'm probably officially down to like a 4.7 at this point. But you know, I don't want to accept it yet.
Well, dang, Philly Brown's gonna burn you then.
Well, maybe you need to make him run in all his pads, Chris.
There you go.
You need to run.
4.7 would still blow me away, man. You could run past me and sit down and have a cup of coffee before I got to.
Hey, you know, my thing with Phillies, I just wish that he would catch the ball more with his hands and not his body.
Yeah, no doubt.
He does a good job trapping it still, but I wish he caught it more with his hands. He does the same thing when he's doing the punt returns and the kickoff returns. He'll catch it with his body.
Yeah.
It's a little dangerous to me.
Yep.
He can't. He's a liability. I firmly believe he's a liability on punt returns, and that's where the Philly Falling Down Brown comes from because he picked up that. It was anyway. He's done great as a receiver, but I would say this. He's got better hands than Ted Ginn Jr. Ted Ginn Jr. had stone hands, dude. Stone hands. That's what he had. I'll race. If I'm gonna race one Panther, I'll race Greg Olsen.
No, not me. I'm going to race Colin Cole.
I'm going to take on Byron Bell.
Yeah, that's who I'm racing.
I'll race the Greg Olsen because we got nicknames for everybody we roll with. Hey, Greg Olsen, if you ever break a tackle, man, I will give you a kiss.
Hey, what's your nickname for Roman Harper?
Oh, for Roman Harper?
Yeah.
Aaron came up with that one.
Yeah, that's Old Man Harper.
No,
Grandma Harper. What's the Grandma Harper? Grandma Harper. From what is it?
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
What was it from?
That was the
Carol Burnett show.
The Harper family, right? That was Grandma Harper.
we call him Old Bones too, instead of Small Bones.
Old Bones.
All right, let's jump to the game, though. All right, let's talk about this. We've seen an improvement with the offensive line since this new group of guys has started to play together with Rimmers, with help me out with the guard, Norwell. Trey Turner seems to be playing much better. Do we think, guys, legitimately that any of these guys will Rimmers be on this team? Will he be important next year, or will he just be kind of a backup?
Well, let me give you a quick thought, or go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, my take on it is Boy, what a pleasant surprise he was, because I think Nate Chandler really was our Achilles heel to that. I mean, he was the weak link on that line. He was a pretty good guard last year, but man, he struggled this year. And I follow Pro Football Focus pretty closely for the other stuff that I do. Being an analyst over at DraftTech.com, which a new mock draft's coming out tomorrow. But Pro Football Focus, man, those guys, they got analysts. They watch every player on every snap of every game. And Rimmers has gotten better every single week that he's been out there. And actually, he was the second highest rated Panther this past week, right behind Big Money Charles Johnson, as far as being effective on what he was called to do on each individual play. So, hey, it's only been 3 games. It's a small sample size, but, man, I'm not in a big hurry to draft a right tackle now. We've got to get a left tackle, but Rimmers is going to get a shot.
Joey, do you think these guys will be more than just – I think they'll be on the team, obviously. But what I'm asking is, will they play an important role like they have in the last 5 games?
My thought is that going into next season, they're the starters. It's their position to lose because of how well they have played at the end of this year. They've made it all the difference. I mean, we went from Cam running for his life to him actually having time to sit back there and look for targets, and
look at the run
attributed to them.
Yeah.
And a running game, exactly. And a running game.
Oh.
I don't know if – yeah.
What'd you say, guys?
What's your take? What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think of it?
You guys caught me in the middle of texting Corey happy birthday. I wasn't ready.
Okay, all right. Man. Here, let's move on into this. Is that since we're talking about the offensive line, and like we said earlier, that our whole kind of thing is to tackle the Panthers from the fan perspective. One guy that has just been the whipping boy for every problem the Carolina Panthers has been Byron Bell. Really, and there was a story earlier in the season about him kind of being upset with this, and at one point he made some kind of statement like, well, people were critical of Jesus too, or something like that. And
wow.
But is there really? Do you think, guys, that Byron Bell could legitimately come back on this team after the way the fan base is just?
Man, I hope not.
Brutalized. I mean, is there? How about this? We'll ask Chris this because you get to see maybe this. Is Byron Bell? How aware of this is he that people run him up the flagpole and down every day on the radio?
Well, in case you missed it, he was my first one-on-one interview this year.
Oh.
We talked specifically about that, and he's very aware of fan perception of him. The positive I see in Byron is that, number one, he's playing a tough position that's going to get highlighted on the line because he's protecting Cam's blind side. But he's a very, very athletic, big guy. And I think that if he can get some more experience, have a good off-season, that he could definitely be effective in that position. I mean, the guy can move really quick, which is something you need for that left tackle to be able to move quickly left and right and back. And I don't know if you guys know, he's in his fraternity. He'll do these dancing moves, and he's quick.
He's quick dancing. That defensive end come at him. I don't know where that speed goes.
We have one of our writers at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. By the way, you can tweet the show at #C3 or at @cat_Chronicles. One of our writers, Chris, though, has a theory, and he's kind of stuck to this for about this was before Byron Bell stepped into this role, that he's better fit, his body type is better fit for guard or right tackle than it is for the left tackle. And you say he's quick and all this. Do you think that? I mean, do you think this team though can invest another year with him at left tackle, or will they?
Again, I think it's a pretty fair chance that the coaches will give him the benefit of the doubt that this was a learning year. They kind of went into it with that it was a learning year, They certainly love the contract that they have on Byron that they signed him to recently. So I think he's going to get a pretty fair chance to lose that job going into next year. And body type wise, yeah, if he didn't have the quickness that I've seen, I would go to stick him more at that guard position. But because he does have that quickness, it does make him an attractive person if he can get it together and get some more confidence playing that role.
Yeah.
He's had moments. I mean, he has had moments this season where he's done a fair job.
And he's graded out the last 3 weeks pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe starting
Well, they're
around.
starting to kind of come together, but it's a little too late at this point.
For this season.
Let's look forward to the immediate season, though, and let's talk for a moment about the Chicago Browns. There's a lot of Chicago Browns. I was thinking about the dang Bears all day today and how they screwed us. We're hosting the Cleveland Browns. Little Johnny, Mr. Money Manziel, is coming to Carolina, and how much do the players do you guys think that they get excited about these types of moments to kind of put Johnny in his place?
Any professional athlete, of course, licks their chops at any chance to put someone in their place. They're competitors. They're professionally paid competitors. So, yeah.
Hey, we've seen that too, haven't we? Anytime Cam gets sacked, they do the Superman right over.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even when he doesn't get sacked, remember Kaepernick did it in the playoff game? He did and then he did the button down and all that craziness.
Oh, Kaepernick.
So that's when they get super excited, is when they can internalize that victory. So little Johnny coming to town. This is good news for a defensive line that's starting to play a little bit better. Charles Johnson has been on top of it. Big money, who makes his money from going after guys like Johnny, he's been playing great for the last 6 weeks. Are we going to start to see some? Oh, well, guess what? I forgot to tell you guys. We get Frank Alexander back, so everything's going to be great. But this might be an opportunity for this to kind of finish on a high note against a rookie quarterback. The defense really starts to be turning a corner. The secondary improving. Are they excited about this matchup, or is this something that we think that is this the Carolina of 6 weeks ago, where they're nervous every time they take the field?
I haven't been in the locker room this week, but I'm sure they're excited just from the point that they still have a playoff chance.
Right.
Even though it might not be the most ideal, the fact that they still have that chance, they probably don't care who they're lining up against. They're excited to play this Sunday for another chance to continue to play past the end of the season. Let's
remember those playoff checks too. That's a motivating factor as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you. This is kind of going off script here, but hasn't been so much the last couple of weeks, but there's been a lot of talk from Panther fans about should Ron Rivera be kept next year. Or do you get any kind of vibe that he's on any kind of hot seat at all?
Nah, I think that I think all of the guys upstairs will have this look that they had so much adversity this year with Greg, with injuries, with now the accident, with just so many different things that happened, that everybody will get another chance next year. I mean, it would have had to really, really super duperly fall apart. But I predicted a month ago that he's just, by so many things that happen out of their control, that he's going to get another year.
Yeah.
He said the magic word. He said the name, the $60 million man, Greg Hardy. What can you tell us about that situation? I mean, and can we look forward to him in a Panthers uniform next season?
No, never again. It's not going to happen.
I think that's going to come down to more of a political decision than a football decision. Ron's definitely said that he wants him back. He's been to the facility finally after being away for so long. I think he was there maybe a month ago. So I think it's more of a political thing that's going to come from the owner and the GM than from Ron.
Will the decision on his trial be the mitigating factor?
Yeah, I think they don't know what to do, but if his trial goes negatively, I think they'll definitely ride that pink slip,
Right.
ride that all day, yeah.
But if he gets proven not guilty, you think there's a chance? I want him. I'll tell you, I want him. I know how much better our defense is with him. We saw how the defense slipped without him.
We learned how we underestimated Greg Hardy's
His
importance.
value. Yes.
We really did for a long time. So, but we disagree on this subject.
I think if he's found innocent, that he'll have a 60% chance of coming back, because what's going to happen at that point is what works in favor for any athlete is at that point it's basically a year. So all the I can't think of the fancy word, but this hot item goes away, and it's less toxic for him to come back onto the team.
Right. Less negativity, a perception of negativity.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here's a question I'm interested in. David Gettleman, you brought up his name. And, we're used to Marty Herney calling into the radio shows on Monday mornings, taking the heat and talking about, how bad things are. I mean, at least he was accountable. He was there. Has Gettleman said anything to you and to the press about why he ain't talking, at least until the end of the year? Is he talking behind the scenes, or what's going on there?
He said hi to me this Sunday as he went to get on the elevator.
There you go.
That's a big step. That's a huge step.
that was all.
That's a
that was all that I got. I may try to. You guys have given me some good questions. I may try to see if I can. Sometimes he'll walk out onto the practice field, and if you're lucky enough to position yourself correctly, you might be able to exchange a word. So I'll look out for him this week, guys, and see if I can get some insight on that.
Speaking of, I got another great thing to tell you. We got a couple of insights. We want you to get some of these things back to the players. We also have one question that we rolled on our website with our fan base, and that is, what was it, Joe? What's high?
Is the on the shelf, are you?
No, is the distance between the grounds and Cam Newton's capri leg pants greater than the distance between Dave Gettleman's belly button and his belt? So what we are trying to say is that we got one guy in capris and the other guy in clown pants running around. I think that
that's classic.
There's some, yeah, you like that too. It's an actual. We tried to have a guessing contest.
He's gonna get you on his comedy show if you don't watch it, there, Professor.
Right, you can put me. That was one of my favorite ones, actually. So we get Dave Gettleman. He's kind of that guy that. Do you think? How about this? Let's turn the tide a little bit on Dave Gettleman. The love for Dave Gettleman is a little, it has waned some since, he had a rough year. Whether we could say it's by his decision, by good decisions, by poor decisions, people have talked ad nauseum about those things. But one of the things that I want to know is that, and you might have a real interesting perspective on this because of the nature of your work and what Charlotte Vibe is supposed to be, is Dave Gettleman, is it because he's like a carpetbagger? Is his personality as a Yankee too coarse for the fan base of Carolina? So, I don't really think that him not
eating Molly talks and all that other stuff that comes out of
I feel like this. Well, first, we also think Jonathan Jones. Everybody loves the Panther organization. If they love some Jonathan Jones. That's his boy. That's Dave Gettleman's boy. But what I'm saying is this: is that Yankees. My family's transplants from up north, and people go, you don't have a Southern accent. I'm like, man, I was born in Winterville, North Carolina. Of course, I'm from the South. But I think that the personality type of people from up north is a little different. So where Charlotte fans and the Carolina fan base, we really don't need Dave Gettleman to say anything super insightful, but just like him saying, "Hey, we're still working hard." That's good enough. It's like Southern politeness. Do you think his personality is just a little too abrasive for the fans and the type of culture we have here, where it's just kind of like, "Hey, that's what I said. Moving on."
You know, I never thought about that before you said it, but I would imagine it definitely could. I mean, he has a very strong accent, and he says some witty things. So I would say if things aren't going good, if you heard from Dave, again, just taking what you said into account, I think it probably would rub fans the wrong way just because of how it comes out from him. You know, they might have a little bit against him.
He's the slick talking Yankee coming down from up north. I like it. I mean, I think I've been very critical of some of his things, but I think that has to be taken into account. Is that I don't think he's necessarily trying to be secretive all that much. Is that it's kind of like sometimes students, if you think of like what a teacher does for a student, sometimes they need like the attaboy, go get them. And I think our fan base needs that sometimes. Is they're kind of sensitive, and I think that maybe he's just like, all right, I'm not going to talk contracts. I told you that. And and I think that I think the fans internalize it as being curt sometimes when he's not maybe intending to be that way.
Well, how about this? When you're standing around a water cooler with the other reporters, the Jonathan Jones, the Joe Persons, I know you're probably
trying to get me in some trouble tonight. I can tell.
No, definitely not.
No. They all dislike me. No, I'm just kidding.
Is there a feeling about Gettleman as compared to say Herning? Is there a overall vibe, to put it in your perspective?
From you said you're talking about amongst the reporters?
Yeah. How do the reporters feel about Gettleman maybe compared to a Herning?
I'm going to say two things. One is I don't get to hear much about what the other reporters say. I do have a little bit of a different demeanor than the other guys. And two, Gettleman has not spoken too much. So there's really not much to go on other than you might hear reporters say, Dave's not talking. And so you can't really judge a guy too much when he's not talking. You can just make assumptions.
Okay, that's fair.
When I said they don't like me here, I'll give you a little inside scoop on it, and they do like me. Is Jonathan Jones. I always end every tweet to Jonathan Jones with #ECU because he's a Carolina graduate, and when he was writing in the Tar Heel, what's the name of the UNC, the Daily Tar Heel is the name of their student newspaper. And he was a sports writer in the students' newspaper, and he wrote this kind of scathing article on ECU fans. And so before he ever became a reporter in Charlotte, me and him, this was like the first interaction I ever had on Twitter. We went back and forth about ECU better than the Chapel Hill. And so he still's like, why does this dude always end every tweet with #ECU? It's from a war. It's from a 5-year-old war about how you drink wine at a tailgate, and that's it.
You gotta let it go, man. You gotta let it go.
We have fun.
Southerners can hold a grudge, man. Hatfield and the McCoys.
There you go. All right. Well, okay. Let's do this because we get to the end of the show. We usually go 1 hour, so we got like 10 minutes less. We do 2 segments that we always have to close our shows. The first is, obviously we make our predictions and our picks for the upcoming game. Who's going to win? Carolina Panthers hosting the Cleveland Browns, or you could call them the Chicago Browns like I did earlier. But that's what we do, our predictions, but then we want to give you this to chew on, and you can defer from this request if you like. The other segment of the show that we do is we issue a Ice Up Pick of the Week, where we tell somebody in the world of sports to ice up and toughen up. And obviously, you can see who I'm going after right here. Hashtag not so good. But if you can defer on that, we're always fun and friendly with it. But like we'll call it, it's just we'll poke fun with each other. We'll even tell each other ice up. So, Joey, why don't you start us off with the prediction? Cleveland Browns. I haven't even looked at the line yet for this week. I'll look it up while you're discussing it.
All right, well, the good thing is we're home. That's always good. We're going to have, hopefully, a bunch of rowdy fans there wreaking havoc. Johnny Manziel's coming in.
Joe, you're thinking hard on this one.
Yeah, what worries me the most is, Manziel got a taste of game speed. And all the practicing you do, that's fine. You can practice till you're blue in the face, but until you step out on that field and there's live bullets coming at you, you just don't know how fast the game is. So now he's got a taste of it, and I'm worried that they're going to come in with a different game plan than what we saw.
But Bob, let me tell you, Joe has never picked against the Panthers ever.
And I never will.
Yeah, so we're going to listen for him 5 minutes, talk about how he's nervous and he's going to pick the Panthers.
I'm going to pick the Panthers. They're at home. We're rolling right now. Our defense, I know you guys are shocked. Our defense is playing really well. Our secondary is playing lights out. And I think that's where we're gonna get our bread buttered is on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it's going to be relatively low scoring. I think we'll win the game somewhere around 20-23-10.
Joey, let me ask you this. What do you think the line is on this game?
Panthers by 4.
And the only reason I asked is because I was surprised. That's an excellent guess because out of the 5 websites listed on ESPN where they give the line, that is the one line. But the other 4 are listed as even.
Oh, my.
So there must be an error. I don't think they've put the spread out. So right now I think that it must just be this one, fantasy911.com, -4 Carolina Panthers over under 39.5. What was the score again you said, Joe? 23-10?
Yeah, 23-10.
Also, to let you know, Joey has also never picked against the Panthers, and somehow we still have the defense of last year every week when Joey picks. All right, Aaron, a.k.a. Mel Mayock, what do you got going in? We got a 4-point spread. We'll say that over under 39.5. You don't got to pick against the spread, just straight up. Who comes away with this one?
I tell you, if you look at them from a year from a macro view over the entire year, Cleveland is the better team, right? I mean, you look at Pro Football Focus that from top to bottom, they rate out better over the entire year. However, Brian Hoyer started to take a nosedive the last few weeks, and then in comes Johnny Football, and everything has changed. I don't know if Joe Thomas is kind of like wanting to let people get to Johnny. I don't know what's going on, but they are not the same team. Stat that jumped out at me last week was, man, they only ran 32 plays. Wow. 32 plays. I mean, think about that. I mean, Johnny Manziel went 10-18 for 80 yards, and the running backs only ran the ball 12 times for, like 84 yards or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. So if that continues, man, I mean, this won't be close. The Panthers will run away with it, but it's going to be somewhere in between. I think the Panthers are going to pull it out. I'm a little bit of a homer too, Chris. So, I will say Panthers 27. I think Johnny Manziel gets on the board, make it 17. So 27-17 Panthers.
Well, of course you're a homer. We have a weekly fan podcast where we talk about the Carolina Panthers from a fan perspective. All right, Chris, who you got in this game? What did you say, 23-17? Is that what it was?
27-17, right?
27-17.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, who do you got in this game?
Well, in the spirit of the show, I will give a prediction, but you guys know I'm not one to do predictions. I think they set you up for failure, but
come on.
Boo, right?
Hey, we're not afraid to fail around here, man.
Hey, I'm sensitive. I get sensitive when I get all the hate tweets, you know. But I say the Panthers should win this one pretty solidly because one thing that I do like about this defense is when we went young and got rid of Antoine Case and some other guys, that there's a definite different swagger on that defensive side with the attitude of Norman and Ben Rickeray, which I can struggle to say. I see those guys kind of licking their chops.
Sticky Wicky.
Yeah, sticky
There we
wicky
go.
easier.
I see those guys licking their chops, and as soon as they can break on a ball, they're going to get one, and then that's going to get the whole defensive hype. Then you're going to have, just going to pile on. So I'm in strong favor of the Panthers this weekend.
Right. All right.
Liking it. And
Pretty
certainly,
easy.
last but not least, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. That's me. We asked you on for an easy, fun part of the
We're losing him.
show.
Tony, we're losing him.
We're losing the professor. Wait, let me just tell you what I think Tony's telling you while he gets that straightened out, right? That's the last part of the show is where we have an ice up son pick, and you can abstain if you want to, right? If you don't want to call somebody out, but in the spirit of Steve Smith, we always give somebody, whether it's a fan or somebody out in pop culture, even maybe somebody wearing capri pants. I don't know. It's an opportunity to flatter our old guy Steve Smith and still keep his spirit alive and call somebody out and tell him to ice up, son. Right? So, Joe, you want to take the first one and kind of give Chris a taste of what we do?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going all out right here. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And speaking of money, that's kind of who I'm calling out this week. Johnny Manziel.
Ooh.
All hype. All hype. Everybody was talking about the savior. He was going to come in and save Cleveland, and people were buying his jersey up left and right, and he does the money sign whenever he does a nice play, which that's just so tacky. I'm calling him out. He laid an egg. He came out. He got his start. He got his chance, and he laid an egg. He dropped the ball. All I can say is, if he plays like that when they get to Charlotte, it's going to be real ugly. It's going to be real ugly. So, Johnny Manziel, you better get it together because you're coming to the house of pain.
Ooh.
So, son, I'm telling you, you need to ice up.
That's how you do it right there. All right.
Ice up, son.
All right. So we got
My back.
You're back. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I didn't get to give my pick, so I want to give my pick. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Carolina Panthers on this one. What I was going to say is that I go on a weekly radio show where we talk NFL, and it was very hard picking the Panthers anytime for the last 6 weeks. It's nice to have a 2-game winning streak with some momentum, and playing against a team that is that we have I think that we have the advantage on at the current moment. They do have a good defensive line. Hey, Joey, this goes for you. Let me see if this shows up.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Johnny who? That's exactly right.
That's Johnny who? I'm going to pick the Carolina Panther. I'd like to say
internet is weak out on Eastern Carolina this evening.
I'm hoping they can't play. Yuck. It's pick of the week.
Go ahead, take it over, Mel.
Yeah, let's see go ahead, Mel. Run with it.
All right. So you get that straightened out over there on that strong internet bandwidth out there by East Carolina. All right, so I'll give you my ice up son pick, right, and then Professor. But it sounded like the Professor was taking the Panthers. I don't think that's too surprising either. We almost always take the Panthers around here. But from an ice up son perspective, I like to call out a fan base, right? Just what was it, a week ago? The New Orleans fan base, man, they were booing their own team, and then Cam Newton was hurt. He could. That was the loudest they cheered the entire time. You're cheering for an opponent to, struggling to get up. And, I wasn't too surprised. Their fan base, I got a few Saints fans, they're not all like that, but most of them are pretty lowbrow. And then this past week, yesterday in Chicago, actually a Saints fan actually pushed the chairman of the Chicago Bears down to the ground, ended up getting arrested.
Whoa.
That fan base needs to get it together, man. Learn a little bit of class. I mean, hey, I hate the Falcons, but even when Cam Newton was in the car wreck, the Falcons organization tweeted out, best wishes to Cam Newton.
Exactly.
Didn't hear a boo from the New Orleans Saints.
Nope.
That organization, we coming for you, baby. I wish we could play you again in the playoffs.
Me too, man. Me too.
New Orleans Saints, fan base, organization, you need to ice up, son. That's where I'm coming from.
Here, here. I second that. Very well done there, Mel Mayock.
All right.
Can you hear my audio, Mel?
We got you now, man. We got you.
All right, I'm just going to jump in and say my ice-up pick real quick of the week before I cut out again is I was rooting for Jay Cutler last night or yesterday before that game, and that train wreck happened. That was Jay Cutler. So this is my every other week. We don't know what we're going to get with Jay Cutler. So this goes to you. Hashtag bad Jay Cutler. Ice up, son.
Ice up.
Hey, that was a good one, Professor. But I was leaving Mayhem out of my ice up, sons, leaving him for you to do. But
I wanted to ask you guys about that, but we'll talk about it next week, because we're running over.
So, Chris, we're not going to make you jump in, but if you want to, you can give your ice up son pick, or you can just plug yourself, and we can move on.
I don't have one, guys. I was trying to think about it, but I'll pass this time. I'll try for next week.
All right. So you're not going to call Joe Person out, huh?
Nah, he's going to.
I got to see him tomorrow. You guys will be in trouble.
That was me, not Chris.
Can't call him out. You can't call any of those guys out. You can call out you could call out my joke from. You could tell my the distance joke between the ground and ice up. No, but all right. So this is the C3 podcast. We would like to thank everyone for coming on and give everybody an opportunity to tell those who are watching right now. And we'd like to thank everybody. A lot of good response out there for this show. And I know that people will be downloading it heavily tomorrow and checking it out. So we'll go around the horn right here and give everybody their opportunity to tell them what you're working on or how they can find you on Twitter or any other social media. Let's start with our guest, Chris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe.
Al, the guest gets to go first. Well, hey, guys, it was definitely a pleasure talking on the show. But I'm Chris Jenkins with Charlotte Vibe, covering the Panthers, Hornets, and other entertainments here in Charlotte. You can follow me on any social media at Charlotte Vibe. And coming up, I have one-on-one interviews with Corey Brown. Me and Kelvin are supposed to sit down next week, but we got to work some details out on that. So just love to hear from the fans to get the questions answered for you guys.
Awesome.
Jump in there, Mel.
All right. Hey, I just want to iterate everybody. Go check out charlottevibe.com. That is a cool website, man. It tells you about what entertainment's coming. Anywhere from comedy to some music to sports all around town. It's a great site, man. Chris, we're happy to have you on. Happy to be working with you too. All right.
Thank you.
But hey, I'm Mel Mayock. Actually, my name is Aaron Ford, a.k.a. Mel Mayock, because my focus is on the draft. And, hey, the draft season's heating up, People are really jumping on, asking me questions all the time. That's my thing. Right now, biggest thing I'm working on is I'm watching film. I'm breaking down my top 64 prospects that I want to put out there. And you're going to see some stuff coming out on the website pretty soon about that. So I'm excited about that. But I'm also an analyst over at drafttech.com for the Panthers. I write up and fill out our team needs and write up the mock drafts from our perspective. Got a new one coming out tomorrow, so everybody go check that out. And, hey, just happy to be here tonight. I think it was a good show.
Joe, jump in there.
All right. I'm Joe Riolano, a.k.a. the freaking Puerto Rican. It's been a real pleasure, Chris, having you on. It's a real pleasure and a real privilege, and we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. I want to mention that, go to the site, go to charlottevibe.com, check it out. You'll see all types of events going on there in Charlotte. If you want tickets to these events, come back to the CarolinaCatChronicles.com page, and we have a link to Ticketmonster.com where you can go and get all your entertainment tickets, whatever they may be, concerts, sports, whatever you need. You can go right there and pick them up.
Yeah, jump
Right
into
on.
the website and buy those. It helps a little website that's just trying to start and find some sort of revenue stream, just a little bit. And all you do is you just buy it through essentially an affiliate link, and it really can help us out and hopefully get us where we need to be one day. We've been growing a lot, so everybody check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com every weekday, every Tuesday, 10 o'clock, the C3 podcast. Wednesday nights you can check out Southbound and Down, the premier NFC South podcast, where representatives from all of the NFC South get together and kind of bat around what's going on in the historically bad division that it is this season. I'd also like to mention that Mel Mayock, I think we got a plan for releasing the 64, 8 days, 8 picks a day. So watch out for that. We're going to roll it out, and you're going to get steamrolled with 64 prospects that are finely tuned for the Carolina Panthers, hopefully. And as always, you can check me out on Pirate Radio 1250 on Fridays at 4, the Sports Bar. This is the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. Thanks for joining us, guys, and you have a wonderful night. Keep pounding.
Right on.